Hi everybody, welcome to Ms. Miller's Fire Pit Friday. I'm so glad that you could join me today. I'd like to read you a couple of books. So let me see where I put them in my pack, my adventure pack. Oh, this is not one of my books I want to read to you. This is my headlamp. I use it for when I run with my running partner in the dark, or I use it camping or backpacking. I won't turn it on, it's very bright. Everybody needs a good headlamp. Oh, here's my magnifying glass from when I was a little girl. I was your age when I got this magnifying glass from my Aunt Sue and Uncle Paul. I've used it a lot. It's great for looking at bugs or anything in nature up close. It's fabulous. If you don't have a good magnifying glass, you should ask for one for your birthday. Let's see, is it in this drawer? I always call them drawers. Do you? Well, this is not my book. This is my wild-caught salmon packet. Sometimes I'll put salmon on my salads that I eat. That is not it. And it's not this apple either. I love apples. That's not one of the books. Let me see if it's in this other slot. Let's see. Well, I do want to show you a bird from my bird book. So far I've shown you a couple, and now this will be another one to add to your collection of knowledge of birds. This says, this is not the picture of the bird yet, this says, I like to dance and kick in the leaves and add soft hair to my nest. What bird am I? Listen to what this bird says. This bird you probably have in your yard. I'll show you what it looks like. This bird likes to hang out in the bushes and low on the ground. And when it says, I like to dance in the leaves, that means it kicks up the leaves to find the insects and seeds that it wants to eat. Now, this bird has an old name, which sometimes I accidentally call it by. And that's actually how I remember it. What its name is when I hear its song. This bird is called a spotted towhee. Its Latin name is Pipilo maculatus. It's very interesting because Pipilo means twitter or chirp. And that's what birds do. This is what this bird does. And maculatus means spot. And it's called the spotted towhee. But guess what? It used to be called the rufous-sided towhee. And so when I hear its song, I hear it saying, I'm a rufous-sided towhee. Towhee? Here. Rufous-sided towhee. Towhee? Maybe you've heard it say that before. It's a spotted towhee. Pipilo maculatus. That's a great bird. It's a skulker. You have to look low. They usually don't go very high. They lay their nests on the ground. Let's see, what book should I read to you today? Here are some options, but first, let me take out of my pack also, I always have my adventure hat. You never know when you're gonna see birds or something like that. Always have your binocs with you. Okay, here's one book. It's called Too Many Pumpkins. I don't think I'll read that one today, but that's a great book. Here's one called Sophie's Squash. I'll have to read that to you sometime, maybe soon. Oh, I love Harry the Dirty Dog. Have you read that one? Maybe sometime soon I can read that to you. This one is called Miss Suzy by Miriam Young. The pictures are by Arnold Lobel. I think this is the one I'd like to read to you today. Miss Suzy. Miss Suzy was a little gray squirrel who lived all by herself in the tip top of a tall oak tree. She liked to cook, she liked to clean, and she liked to sing while she worked. Every morning, Miss Suzy made herself a bowl of acorn pudding, and as she stirred it around, she sang, "Oh, I love to cook, I love to bake, I guess I'll make an acorn cake." After she swept the crumbs from her moss carpet with a little broom she'd made from maple twigs, she then dusted her firefly lamps and rinsed her acorn cups and put her whole house in order. At night, Miss Suzy climbed into her bed and looked through the topmost branches at the sky. She saw 1,000,000 stars, and the wind blew gently and rocked her to sleep. It was very peaceful. But one day, a band of red squirrels came jumping and chattering to the foot of the tree where Miss Suzy lived. They were quarrelsome fellows and liked fighting so much, they even fought among themselves. I don't think this is going to turn out good. Miss Suzy did not see them because she was in her kitchen, and she did not hear them because she was singing, "I love my house, oh yes sirree, my own little house in my own oak tree." She was just putting her cake in the oven when she looked up and saw a lot of strangers in her doorway. 1, 2, 3, she counted. 1, 2, 3 more. 6 red squirrels. They chased her out of her little house. They broke her broom and threw out her acorn cups. Then they ate her whole winter's supply of nuts. Poor Miss Suzy. She didn't know where to go. And while she stood wondering what to do, it began to rain. She scampered up the nearest tree. It was a maple, standing beside an old house. She ran out on a branch and dropped to the roof. The rain came down hard and her fur was all wet. Shivering and cold, Miss Suzy scrambled down the chimney of the old house and out of a hole in the chimney into an attic. There in the dusty, quiet attic, she saw a beautiful doll house. It was big enough for a whole family of dolls. She knocked at the door. There was no answer. So she peeped inside. My, what a lovely house, thought Miss Suzy. It is fit for a queen, but it needs a good housekeeper, so it is just the place for me. The flowered carpets were covered with dust, and cobwebs clung to the gold chandeliers. There was dust on the black iron stove in the kitchen and on the little piano in the parlor. There was even dust on the china closet in the dining room and a spider web on the dishes inside. When it is cleaned, it will be a good house for the winter, Miss Suzy said to herself. But what a shame there is no one to share it with me. It is so big. Then she cleaned the whole first floor. Then she went upstairs and cleaned the bedrooms. Then she climbed into a 4-poster bed and fell asleep. The next morning, Miss Suzy was hungry, and she left the dollhouse to go looking for nuts or seeds. On her way to the attic window, Miss Suzy saw a box. Just the thing to keep my nuts and seeds in, she thought, and opened it up. Well, what do you think she saw inside? A band of toy soldiers. They had been sleeping there for years. "Thanks for setting us free," said the captain. "And now I need a place for us to live." "Oh, do come stay with me," invited Miss Suzy. So the toy soldiers marched into the big dollhouse, and Miss Suzy took care of them like a mother. She cooked their meals in the little kitchen and served them in the dining room. At night, she told them stories and tucked them into the 4-poster beds. The soldiers were very happy, and most of the time, Miss Suzy was happy too, but not always. Sometimes she looked at the flowered carpets and the real china dishes and the gold chandelier, and she sighed, thinking of her plain moss carpet and her firefly lamps and her acorn cups. One night in the spring, instead of telling the soldiers a story, she told them about her old home in the oak tree. She told them how the red squirrels had come and chased her away, and a tear rolled down her furry cheek. Late that night, the captain woke up his men and gave them their orders. There were only 5 of them, but they were very brave, and their hearts were full of love. After all, Miss Suzy had cared for them all winter. They marched up to the oak tree and scaled its trunk. The red squirrels were, as usual, fighting among themselves. They were making so much noise that they did not hear the soldiers until it was too late. "This is Miss Suzy's house," said the captain, drawing his sword. "Will you go peaceably, or must we fight?" The red squirrels looked at the soldiers with their shining swords and brave faces, and one by one they scurried headfirst down the tree. "And don't come back!" shouted the captain. Miss Suzy was overjoyed when she heard she could move back into the tall oak tree. She thanked the toy soldiers and made them promise to come over for dinner once every week. Then the soldiers waved goodbye and marched off through the forest, singing merrily. Miss Suzy had to work hard to make her old home as neat and cozy as it had been before, but she didn't mind. She made a new moss carpet and a new broom and gathered fresh acorn for cups and caught 2 fireflies for her lamps. At last she had everything in order. That night when she went to bed, she was very tired, but she looked through the branches and she could see 1,000,000 stars. The wind blew gently and rocked the tree like a cradle. It was very peaceful, and Miss Suzy was happy once more. Thank you all for joining me on Fire Pit Friday for the reading of Miss Suzy. I hope you have a great week.